And here we are, buongiorno.
Buongiorno, Bella.
So today's episode is something very fun because we are talking about languages.
We sure are, perché alla fine we speak several languages here at Two Voices, One Filter. It's mostly English on the podcast,
Yes.
but in our regular lives, there's Italian, there's a little bit of French, and we know that many of you guys are interested in what it's like not only speaking different languages and learning them, but also raising families in different languages as well. So that's what we are talking about today during our summer special series, which we hope you're enjoying before we kick off things in September.
So let's go.
Let's do it. Andiamo. Buongiorno, welcome. I'm Georgette Jupi. I'm a native Texan living in Florence, and
I am Valentina Dainelli, and I'm 100% from Chianti Classico e Chiantigiana.
This is Two Voices, a podcast about truth beyond the dolce vita.
So, Georgette, how many languages do you speak?
Well, none of them perfectly anymore. I would say even my English has probably suffered since moving here. But I speak 3 languages. My English is obviously the best. It's my native language. And Italian is really good. And then I would say French is the weakest. But I consider myself fluent because I can have a conversation and get around and read without any problems. And you know, what took me to understand what fluency was, at least to me, took many years because I assumed it just meant you had to be perfect. And I realized that fluency, at least to me, is more about being understood and being able to be independent in that language. So,
yes, I agree with that.
What about you?
So I used to speak when I was 19, so right after high school, I used to speak German, as I'm speaking nowadays English. So it was really...
Das ist gut, ich spreche ein bisschen Deutsch.
Yeah, okay, that's good. But right now I don't speak it. I can understand. I still can read something, but it's going to mess up with English because most of the time I speak English, so I have this half brain. And then, of course, I'm native Italian, English, and then I speak and understand a little bit of French since high school. So I have un petit peu de française. Mais
un petit peu.
Oui, un petit peu. And yes, that's it. So 4 languages. And of course, I can understand.
That's a lot.
I can understand Spanish after a month living there, but I cannot speak fluently because I never learned at school. So I don't know the grammar.
Were you raised in a bilingual, trilingual home at all? Did your family speak any other languages?
Nothing.
Oh, okay. So that's just purely you just wanting to...
See, I went to a language school because I wanted to speak as many languages as possible. Actually, instead of French, I wanted to study Russian.
Oh my God, you are masochistic. We are a masochistic duo, aren't we? What do you want to learn Russian?
I loved it. But then
it is a pretty language.
I think so.
I do. I would agree with that.
I really think. I also like Finnish. You were talking about Finnish. I think it's also a very cool language.
The hardest language in the world is Finnish. Finnish
really?
And Hungarian and then probably Chinese, Japanese. But
yes, of course. And when I was in high school, I had a Japanese friend, and she was teaching me. So for 2 years, I also took private classes with her and of Japanese, and I was able just to write the very first alphabet because Japanese is really hard also in writing. And
oh my
so
gosh.
that was really, really hard. But
probably very beautiful, though. You know, we actually were just talking with our daughter the other day about Chinese. Like, she has a couple of Chinese American kids in her class. And so sometimes she comes home and she speaks, well, actually a lot of different words. She'll speak a little bit of Russian, a little bit of Chinese. Like, she'll have a word here or there. And we were explaining to her because Nico he had studied Chinese, and then I had taught English there for 2 months. And so we were explaining how, like, even the concept of love, or, it's all with symbols of like the mother and the child, and how beautiful that is. Just like the concept of what that word would mean to people. So I'm really curious about languages, even though I'm not personally very good at them, but I like the challenge.
I like the roots of languages.
Yeah.
I really like to look how words are made and how languages were made up. in order to understand them, and I love it.
It's quite cool, though. It says so much about the culture, too. I mean, English is a hodgepodge of languages all over the world. Like, every time I ask Nico, what is this in French? It's like the same word just said in a prettier way. So... like that's so common.
That's
like, oh, that's French. Oh, that's German. Oh, that's Italian.
Actually, I was reading about. So I subscribe to this newsletter that it's called one new word every day.
Oh, I love. Wait, one new word every day.
See, yes.
Okay. We'll put that in the show notes.
Yes, I will give you all the references in Italian, of course, and they are giving you the meaning of the word, but also where it comes from, and they explain it to you. For example, the word mangiare, it's not coming from Latin as the word manducare. That was the real mangiare word that we didn't like, so we took the French translation of manducare in order to say mangiare.
The rivalry runs deep, guys. I mean, Italy and France, you guys need... just a big hug and to share some bubbles and wine together. Come on. Like, basta,
Do you think so?
I think Italians, I think everyone is competitive with each other. I mean, Pisa, Livorno, Vale.
No, do you want to talk Pisa, Firenze?
Oh, Pisa, Firenze.
That's another level.
I've been getting into watching, and also to help my language skills, like I try to watch content in other languages, in French and Italian, especially funny, because I want to watch something interesting in general. And then that, takes my brain off of work and life. And so I love to do it in Italian and French, because then I learn new vocabulary, and it tests, how much I'm able to understand. And I was watching a Tuscan guy the other day talking about, it was like different people from different cities in Tuscany going to the beach, and Livorno was doing one thing, and then when they get to the Florentine version, it was just somebody cursing in the car and being like, "Io sono ancora in sesto fiorentino, le scandici," because we're always complaining about traffic, and it takes a minute to go to the beach.
Oh, mamma mia! Nowadays it's really horrible.
I'm very fascinated though with the concept of, not only because it's our personal situation of raising families and also teaching our children different languages, but also ourselves, because I think there's this kind of thing where it's like, oh, well, you can only learn if you're a kid, and it's not true.
No, it's not true, because I think you can start learning language at any age.
Yep.
Unless you want to learn something. So I was really thinking, for example, why don't I start back my German classes?
You should.
Because I love German. It's one of my favorite languages.
Das ist sehr gut.
Ja.
Ich spreche Deutsch mit du.
Mit friendly.
Yeah, mit freundlich.
Yeah, so that's really hard right now, because I get mixed up. Even sometimes in Italian, it's really hard. I remember when I came back from America, and after 6 months, I wasn't able to speak any Italian. It was like,
really?
Yes.
Was it full when you went to America, did you speak English already?
Yes, of course. That's why I took American culture classes at NYU instead of English courses, because my English was already at a high level.
I mean, you speak amazing English.
I'm lucky because I can get the accent of the person I'm speaking to. That's also valid for Italian. That's why sometimes I have this hybrid accent, going from Livornese to Fiorentino and then to Bolognese, because my ex-husband was from there. So it's just a mix of many languages, but my brain is very much open to learn languages. And also, for example, after a few days, even in Finland, as soon as they explain me how I can compose words and nouns, I can understand. Of course, I cannot speak, but I can understand the meaning of a phrase. And also, for example, when I hear Dutch people, that it's a mix, of German, English, and a little bit of French, and you can understand, where they're taking from the words. So that's something that my mind is really into, and I love it.
What first sparked your interest in learning languages? Like, what was the catalyst there?
Traveling.
Knowing
different cultures, traveling, people getting away from my small town. That's what was it. Actually, I wanted to go to Trieste to learn how to be a translator.
Oh, cool.
But then the school was really hard. I got just a new boyfriend, and so I decided
just to stay in Florence. Va bene.
So just to stay in Florence to do my university. instead of going to Trieste for going in depth. Otherwise, but one of my favorite subjects, it's linguistica. So yes, to learn how languages and words are made up.
And I think the Italian, and that's the thing is like when you decide to do it for yourself. Like I grew up in initially in a bilingual household because my mother's from Mexico and my father's from the U.S. So before my parents divorced, I think my first language was actually Spanish, not English. But I lost that when my parents divorced because I lived with my father. And even though he speaks perfect Spanish, it was not a priority to teach you. And I was living in 1990s Texas. So it just was not as, it's funny. I'd mentioned this in a previous podcast episode, but I kind of grew up with this, I don't want to say shame, but, being Mexican in America has its complications. And I knew from an early age what people often thought about that culture. Like we all celebrate tacos and margaritas, but where I grew up, there's a fair amount of racism still. And it just felt, and I remember just really wanting to be as American as possible and separating myself from the stereotype of, Mexicans working in the fields or doing X, Y, and Z. And it's crazy because obviously now I'm super proud and I'm constantly talking about my heritage and if anything, now I feel shame for not speaking Spanish, despite being my mother's from Mexico, right? And I want to learn Spanish and I want my daughter to learn Spanish. And I care a lot about this because we're in a trilingual household in our own home. And at the same time, I understand that the nuances of how I grew up is pretty common with a lot of immigrant culture when you move, abroad and wanting to assimilate and how that culture treats language, because language is such an indicator. You walk into a store and you start speaking the other language and people look at you funny, and kids after a certain age, you want to be like everybody else. Yeah.
And I think also it's respectful to learn the language of where you are, where you live, where you decide to move. So it's something really important to do also.
Yeah, I mean, but you have to give context to that too, right? So I agree with you. I think everybody, if I move to a country, I need to learn the language. I do give, though, if I don't know, was a refugee at 16 and having to leave to another thing, then, give some, it's not always going to happen that easily.
Of course.
And us Americans, we're the worst, we can often go to other countries and don't try to learn or don't think we need to learn. This is something that I remember I felt a lot more so in Switzerland than here. Like for the majority of my friends here in Florence and Tuscany and Italy try to learn Italian and speak Italian. And if they stay here longer, I rarely ever meet anyone that doesn't speak after a certain number of years, because you would want to. But in Switzerland, almost nobody I met spoke Swiss German. I have one friend exactly, who is Australian. Hey, Kristen. She's amazing. She's a blogger, writer, amazing person in general. And she was one of my first friends and is still a really close friend. And I just remember being so wowed because she's from Australia originally. And she speaks Swiss German, which is a dialect, not a full language. Yes, when you're there, you need to learn German. And then Swiss German is like the afterthought. And she could do it. And I remember her speaking to her in-laws and just people in the neighborhood. And I was just like, how long would it take to get to that point? Because it's so hard. German is so hard.
I have many friends, most of them, the girls that I met in Spain, that they speak at least 3 languages. For example, Justina, she speaks Polish, that is native language. She speaks English. She speaks a very good Spanish, and now she learned German because she lives in Munich, and she's quite fluent.
Fluent in German already?
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's the thing is, especially, again, being an American, moving to Europe, you just realize how dumb we are. Like, you come over here.
You said that, but I think though.
I'm just saying.
I think
doesn't mean you're going to be successful in life and make all the money. We all know that the biggest idiots in power can wreak havoc on everything. But yes, I was very humbled by the amount of languages people speak and communicate and want to, because being from an English-speaking country, everything's so focused on English, movies and music, and it's kind of changing. Like I noticed that I see more people embracing their own culture more so than trying to emulate American culture. I think probably because we're not doing a good job of representing ourselves abroad.
I think also because of the streaming.
Yeah,
You know,
also the
streaming
streaming.
film. But for example, in Italy, most of the people don't know English also because we had a very good maybe German only coming Doppelganger.
Oh, you guys had the what do you call it? It's the interpreter, like the person.
No, it's not. The doppiatore is the Italian word. So
dubber, the person who's dubbing.
Yes, the dubbers. So, but it's not in other countries, and so now they're
it's not a thing.
discovering. Yeah, they're discovering.
Maybe France. I think France dubs as well.
Could be.
I think so because I noticed that when I was in Northern Europe, they don't dub.
No, absolutely.
They don't dub, so therefore the people speak the
neither in Poland.
And so then you see in now it's like, but the dubbers here are people who do that. They're celebrities in themselves. No, like they, everybody knows those voices, but it's probably the same voices through like a scattering of all different movies.
Yeah. That's interesting. But I have a question for you.
Sure.
So how it is to raise a trilingual girl?
Trilingual, yeah.
That's hard.
Well, we always knew that when we had children, we were going to have, at first we thought we were going to be in Switzerland, right? So it was more of like, and that was a lot scarier because she was learning German. She did speak German when we were there. We left when she was 2.5 though. So it's not like her language skills in German were super developed, but going to a local nursery, she did understand Swiss German and she would have been on that path like every other kid. And then we disrupted her life and moved here. And so now it's Italian instead of German. She's lost completely her German, which we would have expected. And the only reason I guess I'm okay with that, well, A, we live here, but also I just feel like I really wanted us to know all the languages together. I didn't want to be left out at all, and the problem with German is I wasn't sure I was ever going to get there. I wasn't sure if my brain is ready to absorb that at this season of life. Maybe I'm not giving myself enough credit, but I knew it was going to be a huge undertaking. So, raising Annabelle, I will say we've really stuck to that kind of philosophy of one parent, one language. So I only speak English and Nico only speaks French with her. And then in life, we speak Italian when we're in friend groups or out. And I know that might change one day because, whether or not she wants to speak the language. So far, it's been good. Obviously, her preference is French, probably number one. Okay. And then English and Italian. But it changes, just depending on like right now she's in camp, a summer camp in the woods. And she came home yesterday speaking. I've never seen her rapid fire Italian like that. Like it was just like playing by herself in Italian at home.
That's interesting though.
Yeah, but it's one of the first times I've seen that. Usually it'll be in French or usually it'll be in English or I'm playing with her. So it's also just watching her play by herself. And we didn't have like this like, oh my gosh, we're going to have this set plan. It was kind of like, I think also being raised semi-bilingual myself in the beginning, I didn't want to put a ton of pressure on her. I wanted to kind of see if we could just kind of abide by this. She goes to a school that is trilingual. And so that obviously really helps because she's seeing that in her everyday life, right? One teacher speaking in French, one teacher speaking in Italian, one teacher speaking in English, not to the level of maybe us at home, but it's enough so that for her, it's also just normal. So because that was the whole thing for me is maybe I'm so super fixated on that, but when you're a kid and she hasn't gotten to the age where I think it's like they really care that much, but you kind of embarrassed sometimes if you're speaking in another language or your mom is or your dad is. And I know that could happen.
Yes, it could be.
Yeah.
Yes. That's for us. Before I was becoming a mother, I was like, yes, I'm going to talk in English to my son. Then I read, many articles and saying that if you're not a native speaker, it's not good to talk in that language to your son. And because you are giving her, your imperfections.
Yeah, I know. I try not to speak French with her.
All the things that are not good, you are passing them directly. And so I decided not to speak in English with Eduardo, but we used to use, me and Mario, English in order to speak to each other when, for example, we had to say something very quickly.
It was like your secret language?
Yes.
Everybody has their secret.
But Eduardo was always, with international people, and he was listening to me speaking in English or listening to other people speaking in French or other languages. So he was always in a different, multicultural, multi-languages environment, and that was important.
Exactly.
And he went for 2 summer schools in England for the past 2 years. And that was really good for him. I heard.
Did he have fun? Did he like it?
Yes,
Okay.
of course. He had fun, and he had to speak English. It was not like it was always with Italian, because all the teachers, tutors, it was an English college, so that he had to speak. And he was really happy. Now he's taking Cambridge classes at school because I wanted him.
He does speak really well.
He speaks well, yes. I heard him explaining to my Justina, so to my Polish friend who speaks many languages, for an hour, his favorite games.
But see, that's the key, right? It's just speaking, is talking about a subject you already like.
Esatto. And it was very fluent. He had a great vocabulary.
Wow.
He didn't
And I bet
miss.
that surprised even you.
Yeah.
You were like, okay.
Yeah, I was really, really surprised. I was really impressed. And he said this year is not going. And he said to me, Mom, I want to go to England again.
Yeah.
Yes, right. Next
Well,
year.
that's also something that we're talking about too, is trying to expand with the summer camps. Like this year, we're here. So we're we're about to go to Scotland. So she'll be exposed to a very heavy accent there.
Very heavy, yes.
I'm trying to prepare her for that, but
Yeah, it's completely different.
Last
oh my
region.
God. I remember the switch from American to England.
Yeah.
The English one. Oh my God. That was terrible for me. It was.
Oh, and even for us, it's not like I can understand everybody in Scotland and Ireland, and
No, you have to get your ear used to it.
also too, like I come from a place in America where not everybody understands the way we speak English too. I mean, the Texas, from Texas, you can have a very heavy accent. I particularly don't, because I lost that having lived in different places. But I also think when you learn a language, what's really interesting to me is all of the phases that you go through when you learn it. There's the phase of the humiliation phase.
When you use a word for another, right?
Oh my God. And guys, it's because I'm just tired and I am not reading in Italian as much or whatever. And I'm constantly making mistakes where people are like, no, non si dice così. Like, you have to be real careful about how you say year and year and
the other
part
word,
of your body.
Yeah,
in Italian.
it's just an N.
It's just an extra N. And if you don't
Esatto.
pronounce that extra N, it can mean something kind of offensive. And a lot of things in Italian, double is something offensive.
There are a lot of, misconceptions. Those even in English now, if you think about.
Oh, for sure.
If you think about
for sure.
The
double innuendos.
the sheet, the bad sheet and the shit.
Oh yeah, and now I'm embarrassed to admit this, but like my brothers and I would troll our mom.
Really?
Oh yeah, all the time with these words like ship. That was a big one. Ship and shit. She'd be like shit, and so we would just be like, we were, again growing up. I think maybe that's why I'm so conscious of this now as an adult, of just like wanting Annabelle to also be surrounded by other, like being normal to be around people that speak different languages, because I was not around that so much. And so it then became like a joke, like a way to make fun of people. So I'm like trying to, maybe alleviate that as much as possible. But it was pretty relentless when you messed up a word in English, even though I would argue that where I'm from, people don't always speak English very well. But when did you know for yourself that English really clicked? What age were you and where you felt, oh, I speak this language?
Well, I think right after the media, when I was enrolling to the high school, I was already at a good level of English. And then, of course, it clicked with the pronunciation and everything when I came back from America and England. Of course, in Italy, we learned the British accent.
Yes.
But of course, from...
It's quite more posh, isn't it?
Definitely. And also the vocabulary that you...
Oh, of course. It's very nice.
It's completely different. And then when I came back from America, then I wasn't able to speak any Italian. I would say, okay, I'm bilingual right now. And sometimes I was able to, I didn't understand. I didn't know what languages I was reading. If I was reading in Italian or in English.
Oh, really? Because it was that. It was that. So, how do you feel now? Do you feel like now that you've been back in Italy for a long time that it switched a little bit?
The pronunciation sometimes is not that better, and vocabulary, of course, I didn't enlarge my vocabulary as much as I wanted. So right now it's more difficult because I tend to use more often the words that I know and the things that I know instead of expanding it. That's probably laziness right now. Or
Well,
maybe,
we're also busy.
Yes,
Valentina.
that's also.
We're busy, and we have our resources. You just mentioned the Substack or the newsletter that you signed up to. I like to listen to podcasts in other languages, but also language ones. Have you ever heard of the coffee break ones?
No.
There's coffee break French, there's coffee break Italian, coffee break Spanish. And I like it because what's beautiful about the way that, they're free podcasts and they kind of all different levels of that language that they're focusing on. But what I like about it is there's lots of atmospheric elements. So, you hear the sounds of the coffee shop, or you hear the sounds of the shop or the store or wherever they are. And they're like fun, easy to digest lessons.
Okay.
For me, it's for vocabulary, especially for French.
This brings
really
back to when I was in high school. We were doing the same for
the pen is under the table.
Of course, yeah.
I remember that from my Italian friends. They were always like, "Oh my God, we had some English teachers, man."
Mama. Yes, that's also a trick that I do when I teach AI, because if you ask ChatGPT, Claude, whoever, la penna è, they all give you la penna è sul tavolo, because that's the most probable.
Wait,
yes.
Claude is a bad English teacher from middle school?
No, if you even ask in Italian, doesn't matter if it's in English.
That's an example.
They will give you all the same answer. The pen is on the table. The most advanced, they will say, it's most probable that it's on the table, but could be in the box, according to the percentage of blah, blah, blah. And it's gonna, but that's the test I do with my students to let them understand that they are stupid, not them as students, but of course the AI technology, of course.
And that's kind of the thing too, is like I have a friend, one of my good friends is a translator, and I have quite a few friends that translate and do that, and the worry is that they're like AI will completely take their jobs because of the chatbots. But the sad thing about that is that humans can see context where AI can't yet.
Absolutely. There was also, one of my past lives.
We're like cats.
Yes, I was working for a Google project that was called Terra Neuro, and we were actually, let's say, translating database from American English to Italian, and it's not a direct translation. It's called, now I don't have even the word in Italian, but what you have to do is to understand the context and how the word is used in Italian. I make you an example so I make it clear. Noodles. Okay, if I say noodles in Italian, you perfectly understand what I'm talking about, right? Yeah. It's the Asian spaghetti.
Sì.
But if I translate it in Italian, it's going to be like fettuccine all'uovo, because that's what they are. They're kind of fettuccine, kind of tagliatelle.
Sì.
So what we were doing is to understand how the word was used in Italian in order to translate it. So it's called localization.
Localization, okay.
Yeah, it's the context really you're giving. For example, American and Italy, they have completely different cuts of meat. And so let's understand your cuts, what they look like in Italian, because also you have the percentage of fat and we don't have it. So it was all a discovery of how different languages can be according to the context
and how
that you're
people
given.
think, though. And that's the thing when you learn another language.
We were looking for giving the most careful answers. We were working for Google database. So
that's a lot of pressure working for Google. Get in on stocks.
And Italian was looking for noodles, we was not looking for Asian tagliolini all'uovo, right? So that was very interesting, and that's also something that it's that you have to understand when you learn a language. Yeah. The context also, because the words can be a translation, but maybe it's not used in that context.
Yeah. Oh, and it's one of those things, and I'm sure both of us have experienced this too, where when you speak another language, you're kind of a different person. Like I know in English, I'm my best self when it comes to being how funny I can be, how dynamic. I know this language well. I write. I edit. So it's a really important to me to be very good in my native language, even though I do make mistakes in my native language, by the way. And in Italian, it's really hard to translate sense of humor and
The same.
being, even
Yes.
though for me, that really, really matters. Like I want to be funny and sarcastic. And luckily I've gotten to the level where I can in Italian, but sometimes I get it wrong and I mess up and I just make a total gaffe or I say
Yeah.
something super offensive.
Yes, because also that was something that I learned when I was working with this Google project, that we had a lot of guidelines about what was allowed and was not.
Yep.
Interacting with the other cultures, because what it's funny for me, maybe for a Polish is rude or offensive.
Yeah,
So you also have
exactly.
to think about this.
Oh
It's
my
not
God,
just
there's so much-
about the translation, but also how you are used to, the environment that you're used to, you know.
Exactly.
So that's
It's
really,
so true. And you know, I mean, everybody always talks about like back to the raising kids part, how positive it is. And it arguably is to raise, you know, if somebody is able to grow up speaking multiple languages, it's obviously better. There is a downside to it in a personal sense. Like I will say in my own household, for example, the only thing that sometimes I think people don't talk about how isolating it can be. Like, you know, I don't speak perfect French. So, you know, that me, and, you know, I'm so happy that she and my husband are like two peas in a pod with the language, but there's many times when I feel left out, guys. And I just feel like I will never get to that level and she's already there, you know? That being said, would I ever make that a problem or a thing? Absolutely. That's just my own thing that I feel. But I don't think people talk about that enough because it's always like pro, positive. And it's like there are some moments where I'm like, wow, if we all spoke the same language, it would be so much easier. Because, you know, we're constantly, you know, oh, no, not that word, or, you know, correcting maybe too much. And we need to pay attention to that. Because that's our own perfectionist.
For us, it was much easier because we all talk the same language. And that's also something good for our family because we are all into words. So Eduardo, since he was young, he had a very rich vocabulary for his age. So that's also the importance of, you know, speaking a language and give it the vocabulary and the context.
I know. And that's the thing is like when I always, you know, sometimes I worry about that because I'm like, oh, is she going to have that in all the three languages? But though I will say this, man, she's a chatterbox. So she will find a way to communicate no matter what. And I think that is the key. She launches herself and wants people to listen to her. And so.
And her brain is already open, you know, to learn languages. Yes. So she has a lot of potentials in order to learn other three more. And
we also, one thing that's been really important is teaching her empathy for people that don't, right? So it's not, so I always try to say, you're not special. I mean, I don't say it like that, but you're not special, but I'm like, it's not, if you don't speak multiple languages, like that's normal too. See? And like, you know, your grandfather doesn't speak another language other than French. That's okay. You know, let's have empathy. Maybe if he wants to learn another language, we can help teach him. But it's also because sometimes she will make fun of my French, you know, and I'm like, well, why don't you teach me? Like, let's also be kind about messing up because, you know, again, the whole like having empathy for people struggling is something that you have to really press into their mentality and also because maybe you as an adult have felt all those feelings, you know?
Yes, you're right.
I mean, we'll see what happens too. I mean, like she's only 5 and you have a teenager. And so it's two different experiences. I have friends that, you know, maybe that's an Italian parent and an American parent. And I think that the kid just really wants to speak, I mean, maybe understands English, but if they live in Italy, speaks Italian to their parents. You know, it's very, you know, unless they're put in another environment or they go to an international school, like it's, you know, they're going to want to assimilate to what their friends are speaking, which is normal.
It's, you know, the language helps you to get into the community.
Exactly. And I think, you know, my takeaway from just this experience, you know, is just hopefully to not put too much pressure. And because that it's already a lot. Like sometimes I have to remind myself of that. Like it's a lot. Like I have these high expectations of this person and I don't want to. Like you just let her live. She, you know, whatever she feels like only speaking in Italian or French right now, that's okay too.
She's
not
5.
To take it personally.
She's 5.
Yeah, exactly.
You have just to remember this. She's 5.
Know.
And she has the whole life in front of her in order to speak other languages and speak one language the best. I mean, who cares?
I know, who cares? My Lafina, we're all going to have like Neuralink chips in our brain and we'll speak 100 languages, right? Like,
But
what's
right
gonna
now,
matter?
you don't even need to speak.
You need the meta glasses from Zuckerberg and just...
You need just to have an avatar, and he will or she will speak for you in 100 languages.
Oh my God. Do you have a favorite phrase or saying in English?
In English?
Yeah, that doesn't exist in Italian. Like, I'll tell you my Italian one.
It rains cats and dogs. I love it.
Oh my God. Oh my gosh. It's so
love
funny that you
that.
said that because literally I was saying this it was raining yesterday.
Yes, cats and dogs.
It was raining cats and dogs yesterday, guys. Florence is the weather is psycho. And then I said that to Annabelle, and she's like, "Why cats?" She seemed to understand the dogs, but maybe it's because we have a dog. She didn't understand. I was like, "How do I explain this?"
I don't know. Yeah,
I don't know why.
I know. I find this so weird. That's so funny. Why?
I'm always
it
like,
rains cats
"See you
and
later,
dogs."
alligator, in a while, crocodile."
No, that's also very nice. I like
Oh my
it.
gosh,
I also love
like we got in England.
the chop chop.
Oh, chip chop.
No, the wood chop word the same. You know the Trilingual.
Oh, I know. What you're
I
talking
remember the
about.
one in German. The zwischen zwei Steinen, zwischen zwei. I forgot the name of snakes in German. The
Snakes.
Snakes, yes, in German.
snakes.
Anyway, so and I cannot.
Seashells on the seashore. She sells seashells on the seashore.
Okay, well, I never heard that.
In Italian?
Oh,
What do
in
you guys
Italian we have la 33 Trentini entrarono a Trento, tutti e 33 trotterellando.
Ooh, that's a lot of trick.
Esatto.
I think that's it for now. As we mentioned before, this is our special summer series, which means no cosa caso. And I think this is going to be the last episode before we break for the summer.
It's Agosto, so we are going to the ferie.
Well, you are. I'll be working my butt off. And I'm going on my vacation now, though, guys. It's not like I'm a martyr here. But we will be sharing old episodes that maybe you've listened to or you haven't yet. Because I think as of now, we've recorded about 16, which is pretty crazy considering this all began at a cafe.
We recorded more than 16.
Yes.
We recorded 20.
But we messed up some.
Of course.
And we also
even
have
21. Even 21.
Exactly. Sometimes the volume of the video is off. So sorry about that. It's a work in progress here. In September, we have such... and exciting. We're going to be bringing in guests talking about subjects that you care about, wellness, AI, food, all of it. We're planning all of this, art, of course, and I'm super excited about it. But we're going to take a break and then get back to it as we normally do. So thank you for joining us along this ride. Find us on YouTube, Facebook, Spotify,
Instagram.
Exactly. And special thanks again to the very air-conditioned and lovely studio that is Zoe working.
Yes, just 15 minutes ride by train from Florence train station. It's a beautiful co-working. They even have gym and hairstyler.
And a cafe and a restaurant.
Oh, yes.
As well. And also shout out to Vivace Media, who
our
produces our podcast. If you are thinking about doing a podcast, you live in Italy, it doesn't have to be related to Italy, because as you can see, we talk about all kinds of subjects. But if you have a cool idea and you want to develop that, or you have something already in mind and you're like, how do I get this happen? Get in touch. They're looking for new podcast shows. And it's really, I think being part of a network is really important, just to have that support, because it's a pretty big learning curve.
Helpful,
right? With learning how to podcast. We had no idea it was going to be this much work. And so it's really nice to be.
If we knew, I don't know.
If we knew. And we're lucky that we have them to help us. And I think that.
Thank you, London. We love you.
Thank you for editing us and forgiving our errors with video and sound. So. See you guys soon. Have a good buona estate.
Sì, buona estate, buone vacanze if you're going on holiday. And we'll talk to you soon. Ciao.
A presto.
So that's it for this episode of Two Voices No Filter, talking truth from Italy with me, Georgette and Valentina Dainelli. You can find us on Instagram. Follow the show wherever you get your podcasts. Please leave us a review, because it genuinely helps more people find us. And we'll be back soon with more of the conversation that not many other people are having.
Grazie mille. A presto.
A presto.